What's up? Bruce with Bruce Mode, and I want to ask you a question real quick. Where does real confidence come from? Think about it. Where does real confidence come from? Let's think about that. Well, I'll tell you where I think it really comes from. And every time I ask this question to somebody, most people haven't really thought about that question, or where does real confidence, where does true confidence come from? But when I tell them where I think it came from, or where I think it comes from, like really comes from, they always agree. And where I honestly believe that real, true confidence comes from is from success. Yeah, that can be tough to take in. Real confidence comes from success. So if somebody hasn't had success, how can they be truly confident? And if somebody wants to achieve greatness or great success, how can they do so without being confident, right? You have to be confident to be successful. I mean, they go hand in hand. One comes with the other. So how does that work? And it's this type of thinking that made me derive to a new conclusion, or a new tool that I've used to propel myself into massive amounts of success, and that I've shared with other people, from clients to friends. And I haven't really I've been pitching the idea around in my head for a while, but I haven't really formulated it and articulated it that much. But I'm going to try to do it on the video for you today, and maybe down the road on another video or something, maybe I'll have figured it out and worded it out better, and I'll be able to present it to you in a better manner. But I want to try. And so what this concept is the idea of micro and macro successes. Or another term you could use, you could equate it to micro and macro goals. So what do I mean by micro and macro success, or micro and macro goals? Well, let's first of all, let's look at what is micro and what is macro. Well, very loosely, micro means small, little, and macro means large, giant. So with that in mind, we equate it to success. Micro success would be little successes, and macro success would be large successes. And so how do you put this all together? Well, micro and macro success comes down to the idea that you have this micro goal, or this macro goal, macro. You have this big goal that you want to achieve, whether it be to be rich one day, or to more focused, be a successful business owner or entrepreneur in whatever you're passionate about, or you want to, make it smaller again, you want to get a really nice car, whatever the case may be, a macro goal, something that you're obviously not going to be able to do in a small period of time, and everybody knows it. So with that in mind, we'll call that a macro goal. So what my idea entails is taking that macro goal, taking that large success that you're wishing to achieve, and breaking it down into small micro goals or micro successes that are easily attainable. Little bite-sized successes that are easily attainable. Now, what's the point of this? Well, first of all, I know a lot of people that when you look at a macro goal, this massive thing that seems so far out of reach right now, you want it, but it's just so far out of reach right now, it can be really overwhelming. I know how it feels. And I've talked to a lot of people who get really overwhelmed by thinking so much about the macro success they want, or like all the work that they're gonna have to do to get into that. And so I personally kind of wired my brain to break it down into smaller, bite-sized, really easy to digest micro goals. And what this allows you to do is take your mind off of the macro goal, this really out of the way goal that you're not going to be able to achieve anytime soon, and focus mainly on the micro aspects or the micro pieces and work on those. So that way, as you're progressing towards your macro goal, you're constantly having all these little successes, constantly fueling your confidence, constantly fueling your drive and your motivation. The more successes you're having, the more driven and motivated you're going to be. So the continuing process of working through these minor goals, these micro goals, these micro successes that you're achieving, are going to continue to plow you through and continue to motivate and drive and uplift you to continue on getting those bigger successes and propelling, ultimately creating this upward moving effect towards that macro goal. And that's the idea of micro and macro successes. I know that I probably could explain it better. I could probably word it out better. I haven't actually sat down and really tried to flesh it out and write it out real well, but that's the general idea. You take a micro or macro goal, take a large goal, break it down into small, easy to attain pieces, work through those. You're constantly checking those off your list. You're constantly achieving those successes that are propelling you and keeping you motivated and making you more and more motivated. The more of them you achieve, that it just continues to propel you upwards. And the more micro successes you can surround yourself with throughout the day, the more energy and drive and motivation that you're going to be able to build up over a period of time. So looking at this again, looking at these micro transactions or micro successes or goals, they might not look like much. By themselves, this one little thing really doesn't mean that much. And that's the paradigm that really fucks people up, is that, yeah, on their own, these little tiny micro successes don't really mean that much. But the reality of the matter is, all of these macro goals, all of these big successes, or even to make it really simple, these large sums of money or something, you can equate it to numbers if you want, they all come from a greatly compounded amount of smaller numbers, smaller amounts, or smaller goals. So basically the idea is you have for a longer period of time that you continue to accrue these successes, these micro successes that work towards your macro success, that work towards your macro goal, the more you accumulate those and bring them together and compile it on, eventually it grows into something massive. So yeah, it seemingly isn't that hard right now. It seemingly isn't that much right now. It doesn't make much difference right now. But when you compile together so many of them over a period of time, it grows into greatness. It grows into something massive. And that's a powerful idea to me. Now let's equate it into an example. So, for example, if you wanted to lose weight and you decided you're going to cut out some of the bad things that you eat every day. Let's say you've drank soda for most of the days of your life. And well, you decided one easy way, one micro goal is to each soda that you would have in the day, or you could start off even smaller. Every day, cut one of your sodas out and replace it with water. So if you have soda for dinner or with lunch, have water instead. That's one micro success. And yeah, so come lunchtime, and you're reaching for it, yeah, making that decision that one time doesn't really make much difference in the grand scheme of things, but you have to make sure that you don't allow yourself to continue to talk yourself out of it by telling yourself how little it means right now, how little that one time means, because it's a slippery slope. You're gonna tell yourself this, and then you're gonna continue to fuck up by constantly rationalizing to yourself that the little thing doesn't really matter much. But if you continue to go through it, you're going to continue to see improvements over a period of time, and you're going to continue to get these little successes that continue to compound up and compound up. Let's equate it to money. You decide that you want to save up a good portion of money. Let's say you wanted to build up a safety net, if you will, of money. You just have a little bit of money in a bank account somewhere that's just sitting there in case shit happens. Well, you decide you're going to save $1 a day, right? So yeah, $1 a day might not seem like much. It might not seem like much. And so it could be really easily rationalized. Well, I won't miss $1. And it's true. If you only do it once or twice or whatever, you won't really miss that one time. But compiling large amounts of those $1, you do it each day for 30 days, you have $30. For 60 days, you have $60, and so on and so on. And so this idea that all these little seemingly innocent ideas compile into something really big is really powerful. And if you can learn to look at it like this macro goal, this massive thing that's so far out of reach right now, is actually accumulation of all these little tiny things that when you just focus on those little tiny things and you just do it day by day, you do those little tiny things that lead to that, they will compile. They will continue to compile up. And eventually, you'll have something massive. I'll see you in the next video.